To be or not to be? That is the question. Don't worry, haven't gone all actory on you. This is Time Team, and we're at Earl's Colne in Essex. Underneath that lawn, we're hoping to find a 12th century priory, which was founded by one of the richest families in England.
Oh, that's got the teeth there, look. Ah.
I feel like James Bond here, Neil.
What is that?
This could turn out to be the burial ground of one of the great English dynasties, including one mysterious earl who's rumoured either to be the inspiration for Shakespeare's Hamlet or else even the bard himself. The stage is set. We've got just 3 days to find him and the priory. I'm gonna come down now.
Looks like it might go down at least 2.5 metres.
These immaculate lawns aren't just a geophysicist's dream. A little under 1,000 years ago, this land belonged to a family called the De Veres, Earls of Oxford and royal favourites. Today, this fantastic place is home to car fanatic and multimillionaire Paul White. Something tells me we're going to enjoy the perks on this dig.
I feel like I'm in a movie. It's such a beautiful place.
Well,
it's not everyone who's got a priory in the back garden, is it?
It's quite unusual, yes.
What is it that you'd like us to find while we're here?
Well, in principle, I want to find out if Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, is buried in the garden somewhere, because no one knows where he was buried. And generally just to find a lot more about the history of this site.
So let's find the missing Earl, Edward.
Yes,
is
please.
he the one that people think might have been Shakespeare?
That's absolutely right, yeah. There is a lot of rumour. If you search the internet, De Vere Shakespeare, it just explodes.
The secret Shakespeare might be under your backyard.
I got Hamlet in my garden.
We've got so much to find out, lots of mysteries to solve, but have we got time for another spin first?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it.
The De Veres not only founded a priory here, but 400 years later reputedly built a posh country pad to live in. Earl's Colne was a prime location, 10 miles west of Colchester, close to London, and a spiritual and economic hub of medieval Britain. Our key task is to work out what was where on this complex site. Along the way, we also want to reveal the stories of the aristocrats who founded it. And armed with early geophys results, Phil's chomping at the bit.
This thing. How long's the trench?
10 metres.
10 metres. If this looks good, presumably there's no good reason why we can't extend it and pick up the other
Don't
stuff.
talk about extending when we've not even put the trench in
well,
yet.
no, but you know what I mean.
We're wasting no time making a dent in this pristine grass. Trench 1 goes in over what we suspect may be the Priory Church, where geophys have revealed the most substantial bits of wall.
Right, let digging commence.
After just 3 scrapes of the digger, it's looking promising.
Bit of 12th century or thereabouts.
So that could be nearly the origin of the priory.
There or thereabouts.
Oi, you two! It's a bit early to start chucking a trench in with such gay abandon, isn't it?
Do you do gay abandon, do you?
All the time, mate. You know, he's absolutely right, but it is not too early. I mean, the sooner we get started, the better.
Well, have you found anything yet?
Well, we've got glimmers of a priory.
Oh, that's rather nice, isn't it?
Look at that.
It's got fluting, well, 3 lots of fluting and a flat surface there, so...
What's your strategy for the whole 3 days, though, Mick? I mean, you can't just peel off the entire lawn and discover the priory underneath, can you?
We need to do quite a lot of geophysics over it, particularly with the radar.
Yeah.
And then we need to just sample where we think there are bits left. My slight concern is that a lot of the stone will have been recycled and dug out, and so we may not get huge amounts all over the site, left in standing walls.
And it's not just the history of the priory, is it? It's buildings that would have been on this site since the priory was dissolved.
That's
So,
right.
I mean, there's a whole wealth
Yeah.
of story there.
Hang on, come, have a look at this. Look. What have you got on? You can't wear stuff like that in Essex.
Well, I can wear it anywhere I like. Look, my philosophy was, when I put this shirt on, it was ripped. I thought that shirt is near the end of its working life. What is the point of throwing away a clean shirt when you can wear it and throw away a dirty shirt?
And before you chuck it away, you can cut the buttons off to use them on another shirt.
This is getting
It's a lot of
tedious.
work now, isn't it? So-
I'll leave them to discuss the finer points of needlework while we crack on with the challenge of establishing the size and form of this priory. Colne Priory was founded by Aubrey de Vere in the early 12th century. Although there's no formal blueprint for the way medieval priories were laid out, most stuck to a common plan. Around a central cloister was a series of ranges. The western range was where the monks lived, the southern range was the dining room, and the eastern range was for meeting and study. Then there was the priory church, to which burial chapels were often added.
So, was it a purely spiritual motive that made the De Veres build this priory?
Well, I think it was both spiritual and pragmatic. A number of families did, found priories after the Norman conquest, partly as a kind of spiritual insurance for the life to come. Perhaps as important was the fact that Aubrey wanted somewhere for his family to be buried. And so here at Colne Priory it became the family mausoleum. And so we know that many of the De Vere family were buried here. We know that there were a lot of tombs, and that's of course the exciting thing about this project.
So we know we've got a priory, we know we've got tombs, but the archaeology has to tell us about the size and the layout.
Exactly.
Following the 1536 dissolution, when Henry VIII broke with the Roman Catholic Church, most of Britain's priories were demolished. We don't know what's left of ours, but barely a foot underground in the priory's church, Phil's already getting a glimpse.
I think that's hard there.
Phil, can I get in here?
Yeah, come on in, Tony.
Wow, what's going on here?
Well, it looks like we've got two graves. When we started digging, we found this edge, and then it turned a corner and it went back, and we said, well, it's a sort of a box-type thing.
Yeah.
What sort of box thing do you get that's east-west and at the east end of a church?
Well, even I might get the answers to that. Presumably it's a burial.
Absolutely, it did start alarm bells ringing. And then we actually got another one. You see, we've got an edge coming along there, another end. And literally, as I was sort of cleaning down, trying to actually clarify the situation, and lo and behold, look, fragments of a human skull. And luckily, Jackie was on hand, and she's about to tell me what she thinks. So,
It's Yorick. What can you tell us about him, Jackie?
Let's have a look. We've got a really nice big bit on the top of the head. You can see there's the part of the eye socket there, and that's really quite a sharp margin to that eye socket, which suggests we've got a female. And then looking at these, they should hopefully go together. That's where that goes on the side there. And that will fit on there. So you can see we've got one side of a female, adult female skull.
More like Ophelia then than poor Yorick. This burial is our first clue that we're inside a chapel attached to the Priory Church, the most likely place to find De Vere burials. What I don't understand is, you said that this is all demolition rubble, and yet here, this burial cut, that's not smashed up. So what's been going on?
well, the process is that you would build this. It's all made out of stone and mortar with a big cavity in the middle. That the coffin would go into there, and you would bury the person. And then presumably you'd probably construct a massive tomb over the top. That would stay there for the life of the priory. Now, when the demolition takes place, if you wish to relocate the burial or the tomb over the top of it, you take that away.
Although there's no monument left, this is almost certainly a De Vere double tomb, probably a husband and wife. But we don't know if they're in an original chapel or one that was added at a later date. Over to GeoPhys and John's hot new gadget producing 3D images of what's below the ground.
You can see at this end, we're actually starting to see the wall lines and the footings really clearly. So as the survey expands, we should get a clear picture.
The radar's picking up a jumble of walls which represent several different building phases. It wasn't uncommon for priories to get regular facelifts, and after the dissolution, to even be converted into posh houses. So could there be the remains of a mid-1500s house within the priory? And where do we start looking for it?
What documentary evidence have we got for the De Vere's Manor House?
Well, here we have the itinerary of John Leland in a sort of mid or beginning part of the 16th century. He was a Tudor antiquarian. And he describes how the Earls have built hard by the priory. The question is, we're not totally sure when that was built.
Well, that's interesting because this is a map from 1598, and I'm just looking at this arrangement of buildings here, and this is clearly the manor house. It's the largest house on the map, and it seems to fall into the footprint of a priory-like building. And what I'm saying is the priory has essentially been reused as a manor house building, and I wonder if that's what Leland means.
So when he says build hard by the priory, he almost means on top of the priory.
Well, yeah, well, maybe, unless there is another manor house somewhere else. I mean, we're sitting in, obviously, an extremely grand building, and we're right next to the priory, so is this the manor house that's being referred to there? I think what I need to do is I need to talk to Paul, see if I can have a little forage around and get a better understanding of exactly when this building dates to.
Why are you still here?
I know, I'm off.
Get to it, boy.
Thanks for bringing me down.
We don't know the exact date of Paul's house, so it could be the original De Vere home. Alex heads straight for the cellar to look for clues.
Well, first off, we've got obviously reused bricks here. You know, these bricks have come from somewhere else. I think these have been resourced, yeah, because they're lined in that herringbone fashion. That main crossbeam, that definitely is an older piece of timber. Okay. Okay, well, maybe we'll have a little wander outside and see if there's any other diagnostic features.
Back at Phil's trench, there's plenty to diagnose, with an abundance of finds keeping Paul, our pottery expert, pretty busy.
Hello, Mr. Blinkhorn.
Hello,
what have you
Marianne.
got?
Well, I think we've got our first traces of the priory. We're starting to get chunks of really nice decorated medieval floor tile coming up.
Aha! What dates?
Well, sort of 13th, 14th century, probably 13th rather than 14th, I suspect. And all the tiles that are coming out are all the same. They're really, really worn.
Lots of monks shuffling around their church.
Oh, yeah, a lot of feet have walked across these for a long time.
Although worn, these decorated tiles would once have been pretty high status. It's further proof Trench 1 is in the Priory's church. And it's not just in our trenches that we're getting glimpses of medieval priory.
Now this, in your gateway here, this is priory. Okay. You know, that's almost certainly a piece of religious sculpture. Could be St. Christopher, but if there's something on the shoulder, it could be St. John.
I have this old print which shows the house in 1770.
Right.
But it bears no relation in scale to this property, although the triptych window here on the second floor is here on the first floor.
Oh, right, yeah.
So they seem to have reused it.
Yeah, because first glance you'd think, well, that is the same building, but of course it's not. The bays are in the wrong place. Like you say, that window's in the wrong place. Right.
This 18th century etching depicts the house built by the De Veres just after the dissolution. And although Paul's house is a patchwork of material recycled from that building and the priory, it's probably no more than 200 years old. So definitely not the De Veres des Res. In order to find that, we're going to need spectacular GeoPhys results. But mapping this entire site in 3D is a monumental challenge. Thirsty work, all this. Pretty good day for us. Getting those bones so high up in the archaeology was a real bonus, wasn't it?
And it fits with the historical documents that this was the mausoleum for the De Vere family for hundreds of years.
The story's starting to come together, Paul.
It is, but we haven't found the tomb yet. I want to find Mr. Edward De Vere's tomb.
Absolutely. Well, funny you should say that, because John has got some spectacular new GeoPhys.
I'm not sure I can give you his tomb, but look at the radar results. And there's one thing that I think Mick's eyes will be drawn to. in amongst all these walls and foundations.
Yeah, I mean, it's
and
that thing there. That's a very strange building in that position. I'm just wondering what it is so odd that perhaps a De Vere is buried there.
So your dream may come true tomorrow. And, of course, this being Essex, welcome to the world of the cocktail, Phil.
You're having a laugh.
Cheers. Drink up. Well, to Edward de Vere, let's hope that we can find his resting place. To Edward de Vere.
Awful.
You want me to put a bit of
Then we're to it. That's a bit better.
Join a thriving worldwide community of Time Team fans on Patreon.
Our new target is to reach 15,000 worldwide supporters on Patreon by the end of 2025. This will enable us to continue expanding the Time Team world with more digs and greater access than ever before.
Beginning of day 2 here at Earl's Cone in Essex. The weather's taken a bit of a turn for the worse, but it doesn't really matter. We had a fantastic day yesterday. Lots of lovely stuff coming up. Bones, skulls, whole swathe of a medieval priory. And towards the end of the day, John produced this bit of geophysics with this mysterious room here, which Mick got very excited about, except, Mick, you've lost interest in this now, haven't you?
No, we've got a trench going in, look, it's just been marked out.
Yeah, but you've spent the last half hour talking about this bit here.
That's right. What we're doing here is extending this way, and we're probably going to extend it that way because of what John's finding.
Phil's trench in the Priory Church has already uncovered remnants of a chapel with one double tomb. But according to John's geophys, the chapel could be bigger. And on the other side, we've got a jumble of walls which might represent additions to the original priory.
I'm just wondering if this is actually a post-dissolution chapel for the De Vere burials.
The last resting place of Shakespeare.
Yeah, got Shakespeare's chapel all of a sudden out of the blue. And that would be a first. On the basis of that geophys, Phil cracks on with extending his trench in 2 directions, hoping for more chapels and burials.
Ah, that looks like a wall. So that's looking good.
And we've not forgotten the mystery room that got Mick so excited. It doesn't seem like a building you'd normally expect in this part of a priory, so Mick thinks it could be a private burial chapel. The only way to find out? Another trench.
That'd be grand, Arian.
Oh, that's rather nice.
Phil's trench has already revealed one high-status double burial, and at the other end, traces onto another.
This is looking pretty interesting to me, Jackie. I mean, they don't look like they've just been chucked in, but what do you make of them?
No, that is really neatly arranged. Basically what they've done is they've disturbed the grave and they've reburied it carefully. They haven't just thrown it away. They've collected all the bits together, they've dug a hole and they've reburied it in a nice little bundle. And it looks to mostly be one person because you can see you've got femur here. There's one femur, there's the other femur. And if we just have a quick look at this, which is the mandible as well, and see if that's got any teeth. Oh, that's got the teeth there, look. Ah, oh, they're very worn as well. Look at those. And that looks like a chap. And the teeth are terribly worn, so that looks like we've got an old boy here.
Because these bones are within the Priory Church, they're potentially another tantalising glimpse of the De Veres. And it wasn't every medieval earl who had the luxury of being buried in their own priory.
Anna, how important were these De Veres?
We can see that they stretch through history for more than 550 years, beginning with Aubrey de Vere, who of course founded the priory here. He was a very significant figure in William the Conqueror's entourage, and he married William's half-sister Beatrice. And then from 1133, the De Veres became Lord Great Chamberlains of England, which was an important honorary position that then became hereditary to them. This placed them right at the heart of the court. Ceremonies such as the coronation. So they witnessed the coronation of Anne Boleyn and then her trial.
What an impressive dynasty. And they were significant and always attached to this place here.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We know that almost all of them were actually buried here at Colne Priory. However, the question is, where is the 17th Earl of Oxford, Edward de Vere? I mean, he might be here, but he might not be. We don't know.
And as Anna cracks on with her search for the clues to Edward's resting place, I'm still hoping we can ferret him out of one of our trenches. But although we've got plenty of bone turning up, what we don't have are any of the great personalised tomb monuments that would have stood above the burials. They've all vanished.
Paul, what are we looking at here?
Well, we have some tombs here, which I was told when we first bought the house that they used to be somewhere in the house. And then I found these photographs, and I can tell from these photographs that these tombs used to be in our dining room. There are the 3 steps which are currently still there in the dining room.
So 14th century De Vere tombs in your dining room. Didn't fancy keeping them?
No, it's a bit unusual dinner guests.
And where are they now then?
Scattered between various locations, but the 2 of them, I'm told, are in a chapel in Bures.
Is that nearby?
Very nearby.
Ah, I might send Alex on a bit of a road trip then.
I'll do that.
Not that Alex ever needs much persuading to hit the road. He's heading for the nearby church of St Stephen's with stone carver Lucy Churchill to check out these tombs and discover whether the De Veres were as lavish in death as in life.
Whoa. Wow.
Absolutely beautiful.
That's amazing.
These highly ornate alabaster tombs are rich in symbolism.
Gorgeous.
They encode information about the De Vere family and stand as a public display of their devout Christianity.
Here you can see the lettering carved on his forehead. JHR would have been Jesu hominum rex, Jesus, King of Men.
Right.
And I think that says Nazaire, which the early Christians used.
So a deeply Christian burial we've got
Yes.
here. So how long have these taken to carve then?
At least a year.
Right, a year?
Yeah.
So you've been working on something like this for a whole year?
Yes, and it wouldn't have just been one carver. There'd have been a fleet of masons blocking the shapes out, and then the master carver would have come and done the particularly fine details.
I mean, I'm looking at some of these details here, and it's almost this buckle here. I can almost sort of imagine it's so realistic, actually undoing it and taking his shoes off.
The level of detail is just incredible.
To find out just what went into creating these tombs, Lucy and Alex will be attempting to carve some of these symbols. It's a tall order, especially with under 2 days left. But we're very ambitious on Time Team. Well, maybe very stupid. Back at base, Phil's trench through the Priory's church has quadrupled in size, so Cassie's been drafted in. What do you reckon's going on here, Cassie?
Well, I am working on the assumption that it's a vault. So you've got these 2 lovely parallel brick walls. They're both faced in this direction. And we've got this nice dividing wall down the middle. It's 2 separate graves within one tomb.
Have you got any finds out of it yet?
We have some beautiful finds. We've got some lovely encaustic tiles.
What does encaustic mean?
Well, encaustic it's a way of making a highly decorated tile. So if you see, yeah, that's it. What you've got is a highly decorative tile. Someone has pressed the pattern into it, filled it with a different coloured clay slip, and then you glaze entirely over the top. So what you get is this amazing, highly contrasting, highly decorative tile.
Great.
But that's not the best bit.
Go
The
on.
best bit is down here. We've got some really beautiful window glass.
Glass?
Yep, lovely
Kidding.
glass. Let me get you a bit. Thank you.
So that would have come out in the...
So can you see all the beautiful floral designs? And yeah, if you can imagine, that's at the head of the window, the twiddly bits at the top.
Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Now, that was smashed up over 500 years ago, and it could be as old as 800 years. This stained glass means we've found an extremely grand burial chapel, We've also had a sniff of the De Veres and are well on track to completing the whole picture of this lost medieval priory.
If you'd like to see more episodes like this, you can make it happen.
Our new target is to reach 15,000 worldwide supporters on Patreon by the end of 2025. This will enable us to continue expanding the Time Team world. Enjoy front row seats for the greatest show on Earth and under it.
Afternoon day 2 here at Earl's Colne in Essex. We've got fantastic archaeology. We've got a 12th century priory that seems to be getting bigger by the minute. Beautiful finds. Under the ground we've got skulls and bones. So what does Mick want to do? Go up in the air. What are you doing, Mick?
We're going to go over the site and look at the priory and the town and then back over Earl's Colne.
What will you be able to see from up there that you can't see down here?
You always see the interrelationships better from the air and things click into place.
Well, you better come back with some answers, otherwise we'll think you're just skiving.
Oh, surely not.
How come he's always the one who gets the helicopter ride? As Mick heads for the skies, Alex is on his own voyage of discovery, learning the intricate art of medieval tomb carving.
From what I do know about alabaster, it's a very soft stone, so it's actually quite easy to carve.
It is easy to carve, but it's also very easy to make mistakes.
Under Lucy's expert eyes, he'll be carving a star on £200 worth of rare alabaster. No pressure, Alex.
OK.
Here we go. Nervous. Right.
This may take some time.
The star was the De Vere family emblem. Today, it's everywhere in this neighbourhood.
Yeah.
A bit close. Should I come out a little
Come
bit?
slightly higher up. It's better to go cautious first, and then as you become comfortable, go deeper and refine the line.
I can sense you're getting frustrated, Lucy.
I'm not your dad.
You know, it's like my dad hovering there going, "Give me." I've veered completely off course there.
With Alex sweating away in our makeshift mason's yard, the trenches keep expanding. From the air, Mick's bird's eye view of the priory will help us work out its scale in the ground. He's got geophys plotting out the entire complex and looking for the De Vere's 16th century manor house. But in Trench 2, our mystery room, it's not quite going to plan. This room didn't fit with anything you'd expect in a priory, so Mick had wondered whether it was a private chapel. Problem is, Rakshars a metre down and the trench looks empty.
But as for this mystery building coming through, I can't find it.
We've double-checked the measurements. There's no doubt about it. Another 20 centimetres, that'll resolve it.
Go on then.
Well, it's here, I tell you. Look, is there not a cut in there?
The words clutching at straws, John.
No,
come to
look,
mind.
that's soft. That's solid. I've seen Phil do it.
Whatever this room is, it's looking less and less like a chapel. But I'll let John off because in Phil's trench, geophys have come up trumps. This brick tomb vault corresponded perfectly with blobs on the geophys. The beautiful glass and decorative floor tiles indicate this was an exclusive private chapel added to the priory church in the 15th century, containing 2 double De Vere tombs. At the other end of the trench, more skeletons are emerging, including one that wouldn't look out of place in Tate Modern.
Whoa, Jackie, what is that?
Well, you know, we've been finding lots of groups of bone that's been disturbed and then redeposited, and quite often you've got nice little bundles. The difference here is just it's all been thrown in one bag and that bag's been dumped down here.
So the bag has rotted away and it's just left the even older bones?
Yeah. What we've got there is most of a young adult male.
When the priory was demolished, these bones were gathered up and placed on top of what was left of a wall. Because of all the different walls, this bit of the trench is particularly complicated. They think we've got 2 different chapels, but working out their sequence won't be plain sailing. Along with the archaeologists, geophys have a mountain to climb. To survey the entire site and iron out the floor plan, we're talking 8 miles of trolley pushing. And nothing can stop Jimmy's superhuman quest for geophysical perfection. It's becoming ever clearer that this was a sizable priory, home to 12 monks whose Benedictine lifestyle was in stark contrast to that of their flamboyant patrons.
What was life like there?
It was a world governed by bells. Bells would sound in the morning for prayer to begin, and the day would then proceed accordingly. There'd be time for study and time for manual labour. And of course, all around this was the idea of moderation and silence.
So were they totally self-sufficient? They never needed to go out into the outside world?
One of the things we know from the rule of St Benedict, okay, is that if anyone went out of the complex for whatever purpose at all, when they came back in, they were forced to lie prostrate on the floor of the oratory and beg the Lord for forgiveness for all of the sins that they would have encountered outside of the complex.
When they weren't deep in silent prayer, one of the monks' roles was burying their patrons. Phil's trench has already revealed 2 double tombs, along with lots of disturbed bone. Unfortunately, there's nothing left of the ornate tombs, so good job we're making our own. Well, one little bit of it at least. At Masonry HQ, Alex is putting the finishing touches to his star.
That's great.
You like it?
Yeah, well, you've done brilliantly, I have to say.
You're pleased?
Yeah, I am. I'm pretty impressed.
But they're not quite finished. We want to recreate our own version of a De Vere tomb, which means more stone carving tomorrow. Imagining the number of elaborate tombs that once lay in the chapels of this priory paints an evocative picture. But there's more to this priory than churches and chapels. Geophys are now surveying the western range, usually living quarters, looking for evidence of it being converted into a house. These two have been cooing over John's latest piece of geophys for the last 5 minutes, but that doesn't look as good to me as the last lot that you gave me. It looks like a snail has wandered over it.
But that line there is wall remains that don't appear as clear. What I think we might be looking at here is brick. We could be talking about a building that appears to have, well, I can only describe them as bay windows.
So the reason that you're excited is that all this is the priory, but it could well be that we've now hit on what we were looking for, the story of the house after the priory
The De
has
Vere
closed down.
house on the site after the priory's gone out
Why
of
didn't you
use.
tell me that first of all? So tomorrow we're going to put John's amazing geophys results to the test. We could be on the verge of uncovering the De Vere's long-lost manor house for the first time in over 500 years.
Join a thriving worldwide community of Time Team fans on Patreon.
Our new target is to reach 15,000 worldwide supporters on Patreon by the end of 2025. This will enable us to continue expanding the Time Team world with more digs and greater access than ever before.
Beginning of day 3 here at Earl's Cone in Essex, where we're excavating a medieval priory which used to belong to one of the great families of England. The site's come up with a lot of bones. You see this interesting little clump here, but there's one burial that's got Jackie particularly excited. What is it you found, Jackie?
Well, what we've got here is the first sign of in situ remains, i.e. exactly where they were placed to start with. And as you can see, we've got a leg, there's the femur there of a child.
That's a child.
And that's getting to the knee joint there. And then there's part of the upper limb in place here.
It does bring a bit of humanity into the story of this site, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, Yeah, we go from just having lots of important chats with their big monuments to having them and their families, and it becomes a more realistic family affair.
Yeah. It seems that entire families were buried here. No wonder then that the De Veres splashed some serious cash on extensive refurbishments. At this end of Trench 1 is the wall of the original church. But there's a post-12th century chapel bolted on here, and another chapel in this corner. These decorative flints indicate it's probably 15th century. This was a huge estate, and unusually, the De Veres retained it after the dissolution, a handsome reward for their loyalty to king over pope. But did they convert a section of priory into a post-dissolution des res? To find out, Tracy's opened a trench over the Western Range, where Geophys revealed what looked like bay windows.
Slightly vindicated.
That is absolutely fantastic. I mean, that's the bay window then?
Yeah, it definitely looks like it. The curve, I mean, look, it's following the geophysics in here, that curve edge there, perfectly.
That is fantastic.
This bay window is a clear sign that this is a domestic building, and could be our first glimpse of the De Veres' posh house. It's a promising start. As the search continues for evidence of a house, Rakshar's desperate to resolve the identity of a room that's had us stumped for 2 days. At the end of day 1, John produced a new piece of geophys, which Mick got very excited about because of this mysterious room here, which nobody could explain. Well, we started digging it yesterday, and Rakshar, you've just about finished now, haven't you?
I have finished.
What is there in your trench?
Got this massive wall here. That's actually the priory wall. As for the mystery building, though, don't seem to kind of really have found it.
All right, Mick, where's the mystery room and what was it?
I don't know where it's gone. I wonder whether it's not a cell for an anchorite, or in this case, an anchoress.
What's an anchoress?
It's like a hermit who lives sort of walled up in a cell for spiritual reasons. And there is actually a mention for Erskine of a female anchorite round about the late 12th century, 1200.
So where Rakshar is standing now,
yeah,
a hermit, an anchoress, could have been in exactly that position. Can you look very quiet and very holy?
Well, I can do the quiet bit, but I'm not sure about the holy.
You can't do either, mate. Yes, I can't quite imagine Rakshar being walled up in a cell for the rest of her life. The misleading geophys was picking up wall foundations, the actual stone long robbed out. Even so, it's an unusual find that reinforces the spirituality of this place and fills in yet another blank in the priory layout. Away from the action in the trenches, Lucy's frantically carving another De Vere emblem that would have adorned many tombs here. The boar symbolised the family's love of hunting. But there was one De Vere who really lived the high life, the flamboyant Edward De Vere, who may or may not have been the real Shakespeare. Paul, you said that the one De Vere who you liked more than any of the others was Edward. What is it about him that attracts you?
Well, he was the 17th in line in the family to take on the earldom. And in the space of taking control of the estates when he became 21 to about 25 years later, he'd lost the lot.
What had he spent his money on?
He liked perfume gloves. He liked fragrances himself. He liked to wear fragrances. And he travelled a lot. He went to France and Italy. He took with him a Venetian choir boy, apparently, who he also spent money on.
And he was involved with the theatre, and this is the link with Shakespeare, right?
Well, the theory is that he wrote a lot of the sonnets, some might say even some of the plays, and going even further, that he was the inspiration for the story of Hamlet. So there is a big link there, and if you overlay that with the records showing that he was allegedly a shareholder in the Globe Theatre and spent a lot of time in Southwark with the acting communities around the inns down there, it would seem to have some truth.
And he was, of course, a great poet and playwright himself, and he was, celebrated in the day for his writing.
And have you seen their faces, Tony? They're sort of quite similar.
That's Shakespeare, isn't it?
And that's Edward de Vere.
They've got similar noses. I wonder what the viewers think. This one here, that's Shakespeare, and that one is the Earl of Oxford. Is it the same person, or is that sheer madness? Well, as Hamlet said, if it's madness, there is method in it. A quote for every occasion. One thing's for sure, we're not giving up on finding him in our trenches. In Trench 1, the Priory's main church, Jackie's discovered another vault, and it's not empty. Is that another skeleton there?
Yes, I've got somebody's legs from the knees down and their feet going off there.
Is it a male?
Well, it's a bit difficult to be absolutely sure because I've only got the lower part of the legs from the knees down, but they're quite big and chunky, so I think that's going to be a male, yes.
And it's very closely related to the skeleton of the child here.
Yeah, that child has been placed right up against the side of this vault, which suggests there's going to be a direct link between that individual and the individual that's inside it. And it's inside one of the chapels, which means that it's almost absolutely sure that this is going to be a de Vere.
Could be Edward de Vere, or Shakespeare, or both. For it to be Edward, we need to find something that dates this burial to the early 17th century. And with just hours to go, it's not looking hopeful. But we're not just searching for de Vere skeletons. On day one, Paul produced this 18th century etching of the de Vere's 16th century house, bits of which are now built into his home. But the big question is whether there are also fragments of the old house in this trench.
We've got wall plaster. There's a bit of an iron window frame there even, and we've even got some nice clear window glass in the water in the cup. I mean, it's all the typical sort of thing you'd expect one of these places to have. It's in the right place, it's broadly the right date. It can't really be anything else.
It's all very general, though, isn't it? There isn't anything specific.
One nice thing we have got, which could kind of be the key to it, is this. Now, I know this doesn't actually look very much, but this is a small fragment of a large terracotta moulded plaque. You can see there's the curved line. It probably would have been a big circle, maybe a coat of arms or something in the middle. Now, if you look at the picture, see above the front door?
Yes.
No, it's just a little blur on the picture. We can't be 100% certain. But something like that would have been right above the front door, whether it be the de Vere coat of arms or whatever, you know, to proclaim to the world who they were. So, I mean, that's not an everyday thing. You don't find a lot of those.
Oh, that's a nice find, that. This plaque, combined with the high-status domestic finds, amount to a compelling case that the de Veres converted the Priory's western range into a very swanky home. Their ancestral connection with this place wouldn't be easily broken. It was, after all, their family mausoleum. But Edward blew the family inheritance and was forced to sell the place by 1591. So realistically, it's not likely he was buried here.
Anna, are there any hints in the record about what happened to Edward, the 17th Earl?
Well, we've found some documents. You have a sense that he was here, or you hoped he'd be here.
I hoped he'd be here.
Well, let me tell you, he's buried in Hackney. Hackney.
Really?
Yeah. So we know that from a source which describes Edward de Vere having died on the 24th of June 1604 and being buried on the 6th of July in St Augustine's Church in Hackney, of all places. There's a reference in the parish registers that he died of plague.
I'm assuming that even though it was in Hackney, it was a big, full-on pomp and circumstance funeral.
Well, you would imagine so, wouldn't you? But of course, as we know, Edward de Vere had spent a lot of his money and the creditors were after him. And so very sadly, he'd had to have a very low-key funeral, fearing that, you know, his wife would then be under massive pressure from the creditors if he'd gone out with a bang. So a bit of a sombre and sad end, really.
And clearly no fancy tomb for the profligate Edward. Sounds like he would have been lucky to get a headstone, let alone a hand-carved boar on his tomb.
Wow.
Exciting.
Lucy.
Wow, that is amazing.
You did it. In just a few
Fastest
hours.
carving I've ever done in my life, yeah.
You look exhausted, I have to say.
Wow, it's absolutely amazing. Yeah, the
Brilliant.
master and the apprentice suddenly...
Yeah. Brought into sharp relief here, aren't they?
It's brilliant.
The boar and star were the de Vere family emblems. We're going to use these symbols, and a few of our own, to recreate a virtual medieval tomb with Alex as our willing victim, or should I say effigy. Unfortunately, it would take at least a year and our entire budget to carve a tomb from scratch. Thank heavens for modern technology.
I feel like James Bond here, Neil. And you're Dr. No.
This £100,000 bit of kit uses lasers to scan in 3D. And not wanting to be outdone in the technology stakes, GeoPhys have created their own masterpiece. A complete 3D radar picture of the Priory remains. Boys and their toys, eh?
That is just unbelievable.
That's 12 kilometres of pushing the trolley, and I don't think we've ever done anything quite as big as that on a time team.
Not to get a complete monastic complex.
This stunning survey reveals the Priory to be much bigger than expected. In Phil's massive trench, he's found remains of 3 different chapels built at different phases, and all containing De Vere burials. And our trenches, combined with the radar survey, mean we can now confirm the basic outline of this Priory. We've located each range of it, including an anchorite cell in the north. Then there's the colossal church with its burial chapels. Finally, we can now fully understand the development of this whole site. So, really, you've got one big skeleton, which was always the Priory, but as fashions changed over the centuries, the cosmetic exterior would have been altered.
That's right, because if the patron family, the De Veres, decide they want a big chunk of it rebuilt, then they put the money in. They're not like us. They don't think that Norman stuff's lovely, we must keep that. 15th century stuff's lovely, we must keep that. No, sweep it all away. Let's have the latest fashion.
And they certainly embraced the latest fashion when it came to tombs. But they can't hold an antique candle to what we're achieving with lasers.
So am I still enough for you then, Neil?
You will be if you stop talking.
And here it is, Time Team's interpretation of a medieval tomb monument. Every bit as classy as the De Veres. It's been a thrilling 3 days. We've got our Priory and located the De Vere's missing manor house. As for whether Edward de Vere was really Shakespeare, that debate will roll on. But before we leave Essex, there's just enough time to take advantage of Paul's hospitality once more. Well, everyone's been moaning about their dodgy feet, so one last treat before we go. Cheers! Edward de Vere. Join Time Team on Patreon to access exclusive 3D models, masterclasses and behind-the-scenes insights.